Okay, guys, can you please see my can you see my screen if I am right? All right, okay. So let me just start our lecture, our episode number 7. Okay. So in this episode, we will be like doing some new things like object-oriented programming, defining classes and methods and attributes and practical examples and summary, all over things. And this is like completely a new lecture, and these are like completely new topics. So I think you will not be able to like compare them with the previous ones. So let me just give a quick recap that what we did in our previous session. Okay, so welcome to episode number 7 of the Coding Community Python Masterclass. In our previous session, we learned how functions allow us to reuse actions. Today, we step into the real world with object-oriented programming, and we can also call it OOP. Let me just copy its name and then I'm gonna paste it here, okay? Like this. You can see, yeah, I you can see. So, in simple terms, object-oriented programming or OOP allows us to model real-world concepts in code by grouping related data, variables, and functions together. Think of it like baking cookies. So there are two things in our OOP, in our all object-oriented programming. And what does it mean? It means we can like combine our variables and our functions to make object-oriented programming. Okay. So there are two things in it. Number one is our class. You could think like class is basically you can say is like the cookie cutter in an example, or you can say the template. An object. What is an object? It is like an actual cookie created using that template, that cookie clutter. Okay. So these are the like this is the difference. I have made the table here. So we can get our class. For example, we have a class like car, and we can set some attributes like brand, color, max speed, and we have some methods like we can apply drive, we can apply brake, and then our objects, which is also called actual things, we can say, in which we can store something like it is sort of an array, or you can say objects, and we have like Toyota Red 180. We can like give these types of examples. So let's see how we can like define classes and the init constructor. We use the class keyword to define a new blueprint. Inside every class, we usually write a special method named init. This is a constructor method that automatically runs when a new object is created. So let's see what it does. So I can like let me open my OneNote. I think it should be here. Yeah. Okay. So I will be naming it OOP. Okay. Object in programming. I'm gonna. Okay. So let me just check it out here. Okay. So where is our? Okay. So let me just define this. What is init? What is init? So basically, you can say, let me just define our mission. Okay. Let me just define our mission. So our mission is like here. Our mission. Our mission is understand what is. So as mentioned in our document, it clearly says that whenever we need to define a new constructor, or mainly you can say whenever you want to like run something, when for example you want to create an object like for example you have made something like car, which you will store some brandings like it is type of Toyota, which is red and 180, then you can use the init constructor to run it. Okay, so let's see what it does in our 2.1 section. What is self? So self is also like a parameter. I have told you about parameter in the previous lectures, which was about functions. And what is a parameter? You can pass some data to the function, so we can apply, and so we can run the function according to the data set that the user provides. Okay, so the self parameter represents the specific instance of the class being created. It allows each individual object to hold its own unique data values without interfering with other objects. For example, we have an like something called here. Okay, we have an example here, and I'm gonna, of course, I'm gonna uh, read it. So here we can get our class student. Okay, and we can like we can define it, which is self, and we can give some parameters like self, name, age, and course. Okay, and how we can like assign attributes. So self dot name is name, self dot age is age, self dot course is course. So as you will be thinking that this is so much hard, what is this thing? What is attributes? So let me just clear. Self is basically a parameter, as we can say, and we can use this parameter to define new input data we want to give to our object. Similarly, in functions, we use parameters, and here we have objects. So we are going to assign to them. So let me just copy this whole assignment. So let me just copy this whole assignment. I mean our whole notes. What is up? Okay, let me also clear this. So let me just write class. We have something called class. We have a class called student, and we can see, we can define that project using our init command, init function. Okay, I think I did it wrong. Let me just erase it. Okay. Okay, let me just write it again. So here we will be writing def init like here, and we will be writing here some, we will be giving parameters. For example, we have parameters like name, age, age and course. Okay, age and course. So this is our parameter. And what is self? Let me just clarify it. Let me just clarify it. What is self? Oh shit. Let's see. Okay. Let me just clarify. So self is basically a parameter for objects. When we have like something called functions in our previous session, we also have like something called objects. Okay. So this is called our parameters, and we can use this parameter. Oh my god, my pen is like so bad. My parameter is this. Okay, my parameter is so bad. Oh guys, give me a second. I need to do something. Okay guys, sorry. So I'm back. So I was saying that self is our parameter for objects. And what are objects? We can, as we mentioned in our list, we can also store something in our objects. So we can use self as our parameter for objects. So how we can use it? Hello. Okay, so let me just come here. And now we are doing attributes. So let me just give you an example, okay? Let me just give you another example. Most of you would be like familiar. Okay, how do I make a new section? Uh, okay, let me just create a new section, and most of you would be like familiar of our web development. Okay, And in web development, when we want to create a new class, we usually name it when we have create a new element. We can name it like we can name we can give it a class. Okay, we can just write it here, class student anything name. Okay, like this. So and we can like add anything like, for example, it's a paragraph, it's a para like this, and we can just close it. So here, this is our class which would be defining our object, and this is the content. Okay, and how to like change the content. For example, for this we usually use CSS. Okay, in our CSS we can do it like our class is this now, so we can apply dot student, and we can just change the color. Let me just change the color to red, and we can change the background color to black. Similarly, we will be using our attributes in our Python in our object or oriented programming, so we can like use them to define our object to so we can like change our content. And as I have mentioned in our document, how we can like do this. Since self is our parameter for objects, okay now. So how we can use this? I'll write here. Let me just commentate it. Let me just comment it. Let me just show you. Okay. Let me just show you. Okay. Assigning attributes here, and we will be writing something self dot name, and how we got this name. Got this name from here using this self parameter and applying our dot here. Okay. Similarly, age and our course. How we implement it in our document. We can give it what is our name, so we can just apply name, and we can apply also age. Our age is in our age variable, and our course is in our course variable like this. Okay now, so like this. So how we can create? So now our object or oriented, our OOP is now created. As we have seen that this is type of a function where our name, age, and codes will be stored, and we will be assigning them our attributes. Okay, name would be stored like this, age will be stored like this, codes will be like stored like this. So let's see an example. Okay, let me just see an example. So when we want to come here, let me just okay. So when we want to come here, let me just write here. For example, let me see my document. We can like write here. Let me just apply my pen. So we can, for example, we have student number one. We have student one, and we need to show its. We need to show. So this is our object. Let me just clarify why I have wrote it, because this is our object. Okay. So let me just write it, and let me just open our parentheses, and what way I will be writing. Please pay attention. Ali, it is like 20, and course is like doing, you can say, course is like doing Python masterclass. Okay, I can give this example, Python masterclass, and let me just close this. So now what we are saying here, we are saying that our name of the student here, our name of student is Ali, our age is 20, and our course here which Ali is like applying for is Python masterclass. Okay now. So now how we can like implement this? So now let's see another example, which is like student number two. Student number two. Her name is, for example, you can say, we can suppose a name which is like Zainab. Okay, I am taking just an example. Zainab, age is 15, and she's like taking web dev, web dev course like this. So now what we have like specified here, let me just show you. This is our object which we defined here using our init command. What it was student. So in our student, we assign some attributes, we have assigned some data. So according to this, our object oriented programming, the name of the student would be Zainab, age would be 15, and course is web dev course. Okay, like this. And what is self? Self is basically a parameter we can use to assign them these three when we are done with sorting out our different values, and we can store them in a variable like this. Okay, so let's get back to our document, and let's see the last name. Oh, okay. Okay, so since we have applied our attributes here, like here, okay, we can use them to print our system information, our you can say our student information. And how we can do that? We just have to write print, and we can just print here our student one, and what we want to print. For example, we want to print its name. Okay, so I will be putting here dot, and I will be using name like this. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that I am using this attribute which where name is stored, and which is, and what is the name? Name is Ali. Okay, so now what it would do, let me just write it in our red mark. It would be, it would print, it would print Ali like this. Okay, it would be printing Ali. Let me just come back and let me see if it of course works. Yes, we have the same thing. And for example, you want to print something else, right? You want to print something else. We want to print, let me just erase it. Okay, I think it's gonna take uh for example, you want to print you want to print like student number two, student number two, and its age. So what it would print? It would print 15, age of Xanet. So that's how our like object or orientation works. First, we have to define an object where we will be passing some parameters, and we can use self to define our attributes for more. You can say for more easier sort of stuff. So this is how this thing works. So um, have you got the point, or maybe you need, or maybe you have some questions? Are you sure you have got it? Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. What the heck is this? Okay, I have removed this person. Uh, okay, I have removed this person. Don't worry. Okay, okay, nice. Leave that. So, in our chapter number 3, okay, so let me just review it again. For example, you want to create an object, and for example, you want to create a class. You want to create a class with these parameters, and you have just set up then attributes, and you want to specify them, and you want to like print them. and boom, you will get your result. So now what is our chapter number 3? Our chapter number 3 is adding methods, or you can say behaviors. And what are methods or behaviors? Let me just explain it. Methods are simply functions defined in a class. They define what actions the object can perform. Just like regular functions, methods can take parameters and returns values, but they must always take self as the first parameter. So what does it mean? Unlike functions, we have to do something. Let me just show you. Let me just make a new section, and let me just write a definition you have to write. Adding methods. Adding methods like to tell, you can say like to tell what what actions can a program perform and return values, but have their self as a first parameter. So I just converted into like simple language as you can understood. So let me just explain it in more like detail. So what does it mean? In functions, what you can do, like you want to do some calculation, right? You want to do some calculation. This is not a function. This is not a function. This is a method for objects, or you can say for classes. Methods for classes. Only difference between function and classes is that classes must have their self as a first parameter, so we can create our attributes. So we can create our attributes like this. Okay, now as I've told you, in like student.age, name or course they want to take, like anything, it depends on you. So this is called attributes in our function, in our classes, or you can say in our objects. But in functions, we usually have to, you can say we can pass any parameter without using any type of attributes. Use any parameters return values similar to classes methods, but they are not like fully same. In our classes, we usually need to make self as the first parameter. And what if we don't do? Then it will throw an error. Okay, it will throw an error. So this is called the thing. Okay, so have you got the point? Have you got it, or should I like explain it again? Okay, okay. Hmm. Okay, nice. I was like, it's because this is a very like difficult part, and this is like completely a new thing. So like I have to explain every step by step, so you can get to know. Okay, na? Because I'm taking the rest, and I will clear every confusion you guys have, and let you make programs on your own using Power Python. So let me just explain it again. What does methods and classes means? So as in our previous lecture, forget this for now. Okay, now in our functions, what we actually did. Okay, now in our functions, we usually make we use calculations, we can return values, and we can also use parameters. Okay, now, so this is the thing. In classes, in this class, we can also use these three things, but but we, on the only difference is that we need to make self, which is a parameter, at first. If you don't do, then you will be confused, and the Python will throw an error, because this is the rule of object oriented programming. What does it mean? We use objects instead of list, so we can create our own like type of list, and we can like do all that stuff. Okay, now, so this is the main point I was like trying to explain. The what few things can you explain? Okay, so let me just explain the three things again, and this is now like too messy, so let me just create a new section. Okay, so I was saying, in functions we can use parameters. Okay, no, we can use parameters. We can use we can use return function, similar to classes. But in our classes, in our classes, or you can say OOP, object oriented programming, these two things are similar. These two things are same, but in this case, we need to make the self parameter at first. So this is the point. So have you now got it? Have you now got it? Okay, nice. Okay. Okay, let's move further. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, let's move first. So let's see how we can use our methods, or you can say behaviors. So what we can do, we can use our class. So let me just create a class. Let me just create a new section here, and let me just create a new class. Okay, so what we can name it, let me just come here, and let me just create a new class, and we can name it smartphone, like this. Okay, smartphone. And here we also have to like define it, so we can use our define function, define init function. And how we can use that, we can pass it parameters, like we can like pass. Okay, so we can pass them parameters self at the first, as I mentioned. So why I'm getting like here. And we can give them some variables, and we can give them some data. We can pass something like brand, and we can pass something like battery percent, like this. Okay, our battery. Okay, I don't think, what is this battery percent. Oh, I need to like close it. Okay, our battery percent is like 100. And of course we need to close it, and we need to give colon. And here we are going to use our attributes. So let me just specify. So here I'm going to write self dot brand. And how we got brand? And we got self dot battery percent here. Self dot battery percent, which would be equal to battery percent, like this. So let me just revise it again. We usually make an attribute here. For battery percent, we also make an attribute by using this self parameter. Okay. So why we are making attributes? So basically, you want to give something, you want to give something, you want to store something, and you want to use like objects, and you want to create a new object, and you want to like give something, and you want to store something in it. So usually, then we can use our attributes. So uh, we can like uh, assign the values more quickly and more efficiently. So what would be the next thing? How we can simulate? So um okay. So I will be making, oh my god, I will be making a new function here. I will be making a new function here. Okay. Let me just create a new function here quickly. Okay. Uh, Let me just create a new function. We can use something like use app. So we can, for example, you want to put a requirement that how we can use our uh, application and what requirements you need. So we need to pass some we need to pass some parameters like self, of course, because this is a class, this is not a function. So we need to give self again, and we need to give something like app name, and battery drain. So these are three variables, or you can say three set of data that I'm passing to this. Okay, this is not a function. Let me just clarify you something. This is not a function. Basically, what is? Oh my god. Okay, let me guess. This is a class. This is a class because we have put self here. Okay, so it means that this is a class parameter, and we are going to make attributes. So let me just create the attributes, and what would be our attributes? Our attributes would be self dot. Okay, are we following the attributes? We have something. Yes, we are making our attributes. So instead of giving them directly, we can use them. We can use them wisely in our directly in our. Hey, like mute.
Shekazi bakashyira ifite yawe
Okay, never mind. Um. Okay, let's leave it. So I was saying that we need to create a new class so we can simulate using the phone, that how we can put some requirements in our application using and our battery den and how we can use it. So for example, if our self dot battery, and I will explain it with logic so you don't have to worry. So when the self battery is uh, greater than our battery dot drain, it is like, I think it would be like here. Okay, so it would be something like this, and let me just close it and let me just put a colon. And how we can use, we can put self dot battery. We can use our self for battery, so we can equalize it in our battery tank like this. And we can print. Okay, I need to fix something. So it would be like, so it would be like I will be printing used app name and we will be writing here remaining battery. Hey, can you please like mute yourself? I think we are like disturbing. It's very disturbing that you are mute. Hey, please, can you please like mute yourself? Hillary Mambo. Okay. So I was saying that let me just come here again. And our battery, remaining battery would be self battery. And here we have completed here. And let me just see something again. So let me just open it. We can also print else print app cannot open low battery. We can print something like this. So here we will get our colon. Let me just erase it. Oh no. Okay, done. So here, what is the basic thing? Let me just clarify it first. So for example, you are creating a phone in Python, okay? In like simple basic terms. So then how we can use them? I think I need to close it. Okay. So let me just open my black pen. Okay, so here you want to create, you want to like simulate your phone. For example, you are creating some variables like app name, battery, battery ten. Okay. So when and you're saying that if your self battery here, then your battery is is greater than or equal to battery drain, you can set the limit. Then our cell for battery would store this information, and what it would do, it would print that we have used the specific app we were using, and the remaining battery is self battery. Okay, basically what does it mean? It means when that specific battery reaches the battery drain, then it will literally use, it would say that how much battery is like left. And if it is not like greater and it is like smaller, then we can say that we have low battery, so we cannot open the app. Okay, so this is a basic logic I was using, simulating uh simulating our phone. Yeah, as you can say this thing. And how we can use this wisely? So now how we can like method to recharge. So we can say that we can create a new function, and we create a new class. Here we say that let me just write here. Okay, I don't know why we have not our I don't know why don't have our. Okay, I was saying that let's let's create a new function. Let me just create a new page. Let me just go to another page, and let me just create a new function. And how and why we can create a new function? We can like use so we can recharge our battery. So we can create a new function and we can name it recharge, and we can pass a parameter named self. Why? Because we have like some variables here. So we can assign self battery, which would be 100. And what it would why when it would happen? It would happen when else function will be like printed, okay, or maybe not. So when we have like this, and we will print battery recharge, enjoy. So this is how we can create a new function. And now let's test our smartphone object. So we have a phone here, my phone, we can name it, and we want to assign some values like our object name was our our class name was smartphone, and we can give give them some variables like we are giving them a brand name like Samsung. So now when what we do when we come to our my phone again, and when we assign something else, we can assign something sorry, not like this. Use app. We can create we can like do something, we can name it like YouTube. So let me just erase it again. We can assign this attribute that we want to use YouTube. And what is our battery drain? Our battery drain is 30. For example, you can say our battery drain is 30. So now what would happen? Let me just create it again. My phone, and we want to assign something else. Uh we want to assign like use app, which would be gaming, for example, and we can say our and we can say like our battery is like 80. Let me just write it again. Our battery is like 80. So now what would happen? We can run our function my phone dot recharge like this. So now that's our whole program ends. So now let me just I can say that let me just explain it from start. So what we did from the start, we did that we first created a class named smartphone, and we just initiated it, and we say that we have something like branding, we have self as a parameter, we have brand, and our battery percent is like 100. So now when we will assigning our attributes, and then we will come to the to below, and we can create a new function, and we will be giving them these parameters, and we will be assigning a if else condition that if self dot battery is greater than or equal to battery drain, then it would say that it would store this in this variable, and it would print that this app was used and how much battery is like left. Otherwise it will say that app cannot open low battery, okay, like this. Let me just come here, let me just come in, and here from our second function start, which would do the work of recharging our phone, do the work of recharging our phone. So now when it would run, it would run when our phone battery would be like low in Python. So in my phone, when we assigned that our brand name is Samsung, and we have also sent that our app name is YouTube, and battery is like 30, and we have like used and also an app like gaming, and we have a battery of 80, then what it would do, it would recharge our phone as we can run our function from here. So this is how our this program ends. So have you got the point? Oh, okay. So some nonsense, stupid people were here, and they were here like to disturb our class. So I have a plan for this. I will be removing them from now because so we don't disturb. So from now I will not be the meeting host. Our friend Piryanchu will be like hosting the meeting. So whenever I'm giving class, so he will be responsible for moderations. So this is how our program ends. So do you have like any questions here? Yeah, sure, bro. We can call as much as many functions in our class. It depends on the program. Like, for example, I have called two functions. One for our recharge, and second was for like what did. In our second app, we use our function use app. Here we discussed about how we can use our app and what would be the requirement for using an app. Okay, so let me just see if we have something like this. Okay, so in our chapter number 4, we usually see that we have class attributes versus instance attributes. So what are these? Let's understand. So we have like two types of attributes here. The first one is instance attribute that we have used in our program. Where we have used here, and we also have used here. So this is our call. This is called instance attribute. Okay. So let me just come again here and let's talk about our second attribute, which is class attribute. And what does it mean? It means that it like you can say it. Okay, so it like directly ran inside a class body. And what would be the description for that? The description would be shared across all objects created from that class. So let me just clarify something. Whenever we want to create an object, we always need to create a class. So here is the structure. Class contains objects, and class also contains functions, as we did in our program. So in our class objects, how we can like do that? So let's start. I guess um um um, um okay. Let me just see the example and let me just create a new section here. Let me just create a new section here. Our new section would be for instance. Oh my god, hell, instance was this class attributes. Example here is our example we can use for example. Let me just see. And how we can use a class attribute. It is like shared by all with the members, like we can say our community name. And in instance attribute, we like assign the value to each unique member. So this is how we can define them in a very easy way. So what we can do, we can let's create a new class. For example, I want to create a new class. I want to create a new class. Let me come here and see the example. The example is, we can say we want to create a class named community member, like this. Community member. What I will do, I will close this, and to create to create this class attributes, we can say that we can write here class. Sorry, not class. We can, let me just write in comments, class attributes. We can say like we need to assign a variable like community name, and we can say that we need to store something like Cody community, which will be shared with all the members. Let me just see it here. So this text, so this text, this all thing is called class attribute. Class attribute, and it would be shared with every member. Okay, and we don't have to like define something, and we don't need to use some methods like init or anything else. We use them in the case of our instant attributes. Okay, so now how we can do that? Let me just write it. Instance attributes like this. So let me just see the example. Our example is, we can first we need to define them using our init command. Let me just do it, and we can name it like, for example, we want to pass some attributes self at the first, and we want to assign, for example, full name. So the full name like this, full name, and we can say that, and also we need to create a new attribute which would be self dot full name will be stored in full name like this. So this would be called instant attributes. This would be called instant attributes. So let me just complete the program. What does our program say? So our program say that we need to give them a name. For example, member A, we need to give them. We need to create an object. So how we can create a object? Let me just see. Let me just save. For example, we have like member A, and he presents his name, and it presents his name as value. Okay, and there is a member B, and he presents his name and it present the name Ahmad like this. Like this. Okay, so these two members are unique and assign their object values. And what would happen when we print them? When we print them, we can say, let me just see the example. What is our example? Our example is, when we want to print them, we can use uh like member A. We can use something like community. Sorry, not this. Member A, like this, and we can say member A dot community name, close the bracket, and the output will be Kodi community like this. So when we are writing community name which is like shared with all the members, so we can get our output Kodi community like this. So this is how our like things work. So have you got the point now? Okay, nice. Hmm. Okay, like any questions? Okay. Oh my god. So are you saying that? Okay. Okay. So in our next chapter we have our practical examples, and I want you to see it and tell me what does it actually represents and what is happening in this program. So I think I will be giving you as this as an homework. You don't need to do anything. You just need to use my notes, and you use my like way of teaching, and then you have to see that what does it mean. Okay, let me just uh, try to create try okay, not that. Let me take a screenshot of it, and let me just take a screenshot. Let me just put it in our, I think I can put it. No, I cannot. Okay, so I have taken the screenshot, and I want you to see it, so you can understand on your own too. And the summary we have got, like we use how we can use class as templates and objects, like the actual working, and init to initialize an object, and self points where we have to use so we can give access to its variables and methods. And we use methods or function defined inside classes that execute object behaviors. So what is your homework? Um, Basically, your homework is, you can do this first one, only this first one. You don't need to do the do other two ones. Let me just spread it here, and you can just take a screenshot of it and you can do it. You don't need to do the other two ones. You have two tasks. You have two tasks. Let me just write it here. Number one, see the practical examples, and number two is to do the personal one as homework. So I may end for now, and I think we can end this of the class. So thank you for joining, and if you have some questions, you can ask me.